What is the most disrespectful thing someone has done to you? My ex husband and I were on the road to divorce. I had done absolutely everything I could possibly think of to turn this around. And as a last ditch effort, I wrote him a letter. I knew it had like a zero point 0.1 chance of doing anything, so it was also kind of a quote unquote thank you for the good years letter, too. We were living with his parents because originally we sold our house to make an upgrade. I guess that was his window of opportunity. Anyway, his mom found the letter and not only read it, but took pictures of it and shared it with multiple people who started tearing me apart via text. How did I know this? She never hears her phone go off, so I would usually bring it to her. I went to do that and saw the mentions of a letter and saw the context of what was sent. I didn't say anything, just set the phone back down and went outside to get a breath of air. Later that week, she said she was tired of me being around and that he needed me to sign the papers then and there, and I didn't get a say in anything. I mentioned sharing the letter, and she said she was allowed to do that because it was in her house. Therefore, it was her property. Still trying to wrap my head around that one. And then they sat there and watched TV while I packed my things. Honestly, I am doing pretty rough. It's better in a lot of ways, but the same level of sadness is still there every day. Not just because of the divorce, but much of my life has felt like being stuck in quicksand. It doesn't matter if I fight it or wait things out, I just keep sinking. I'm still friends with my ex husband, and though I've forgiven him for everything that has happened, just the fact that it did still eats away at me. We aren't the kind of friends that hang out, but rather check in and make sure the other is okay. Unfortunately, most of my animals had to stay at his parents' house. Two of them passed away at the beginning of the year. I just moved my goat to a different location, and then I believe I have a place lined up for my horse. Every time I drive down that driveway, I get nauseous. I hate it. They were my family for like 14 years. I don't think she ever truly liked me, especially that I didn't give her grandchildren. But when I got sick, we didn't know what I had and we didn't want to make things worse or pass it on. I just found out this year that it's lupus and Sjogren's, plus a handful of other things after 7 years. Just had my gallbladder removed and now my liver enzymes are 5 times higher, plus going through surgery and recovery alone was exhausting. I don't have a ton of support. I find myself loving people that don't love me back or seem to even care. I'm not sure I'll be able to afford my horse, and that is devastating itself. Pretty sure the animals are the only beings happy to see me, besides my mom, who needs a double lung transplant, and my grandmas. I just keep trying, keep hiding behind a smile, and somehow make it to the next day. Would you believe me if I told you I'm trying not to be one of those people that just shares everything? It's a work in progress. Well, it also sounds like the ex husband was kinda already married to his mom and she was just a side chick, but at least now she has her goat and horse. Story 2. My first was pretty callous to me. Long story short, after 7 years together, she left me for a coworker that she was cheating on me with, and he was cheating on his wife to be with her. When we were still together, her car died, so I bought her one of her choice. I gave her a $20,000 limit. She wanted something small and easy to drive with good storage space, so she chose a brand new Scion XD, $16,500. We drove 4 hours to the next day to get one in the color that she wanted. A few months later, she's leaving me. Well, here's this brand new car. It was in my name. I was making the payments. And she's leaving me to go be with this mutual cheater. I told her that she had two options regarding this car. She could either get a loan to purchase this car off of me or I'm taking the car back. I'm not going to pay $18,000 almost after interest for a car for you now. She wasn't happy about this. She was also using my old cell phone since she broke hers. I told her that I wanted my phone back too. After I got it back, I looked at what she left on it. She deleted the contact of her new cheater boy, but the text messages remained. I knew his number, so it was easy to see who she was talking to. She was saying to him that I was driving her crazy about this car and that I wouldn't just leave her alone about it. You think that you can leave me for the guy that you were cheating on me with and that I'm still going to pay for this brand new car of your choice for you? Are you freaking kidding me? Life is now better than before. I went through almost a decade wrought with unhappiness in my love life. A lot either went wrong or just didn't happen at all. Right now, I'm in a great relationship and much happier when it comes to my love life. I'm also making roughly double the money that I did back then, and I now have a house, a couple of cars, etc. Life is certainly much better now. Story 3. It was the night before my 21st birthday. My best friend in college, who was older than me, was excited to take me to a bar at midnight to ring in the momentous occasion. Then this girl who had been flirting with him for weeks called to tell him she was having a party. Thinking we could do both, he decided to drag me along before going to the bars. Now, her place was outside the city and therefore outside nightlife, but my friend, who honestly up until this point was reliable, assured me that we'd leave after an hour so I could call my other friends to meet us downtown. I'm sure you can all assume we didn't make it to the bar, and some might have guessed, oh, it's because your friend got with this chick. Well, slow down, because this is where crap gets disrespectful. We go in, hang out, she's all over him, and tells everyone to come go skinny dipping with her. We can both see the danger signs flashing and decide that now would be a good time to go. Unfortunately, she took offense to this and called him a drab while smacking him across the face. She starts crying and tells us to get out before chucking a bottle of vodka at his car, shattering the passenger side window where I was sitting. This is while we're driving away. He stops, screams at her, and I got to spend my 21st birthday giving a statement to the cops and picking vodka-soaked glass out of my shoulder. Yikes! I was definitely expecting the friend to turn on him. What a roller coaster of a story, huh? Story 4. Had a random pudgy 60-something dude confront my wife and me over a bumper sticker on my wife's car. It was some gay rights sticker, nothing all that controversial, a rainbow and a line about equality. It was in the parking lot of a Safeway complex, but we were heading to the liquor store. So we get out of our car and this dude waddles up to me and says, "That sticker, that means you're a communist, right?" It was so stupid that I assumed he must have been joking around. "Yup, do you want to join my commune?" I replied. I don't mind harmless banter with friendly strangers. "Well, I'm going to start ending people like you," he kinda growled at me. I realized he wasn't joking, and I immediately started watching his eyes and hands, good thing to track if you don't know or trust someone's intentions. I wanted to keep him in front of me, away from my wife, while we exited the profoundly stupid situation. "I have a lot of guns and a lot of ammo," he continued. I had had enough of the fat little freak and interpreted his words as a direct threat. I guess he assumed that the sticker somehow equated to the 6'1", 185-pound young guy he was staring up at, being completely incapable or unwilling to protect himself and his wife. Well, I do too. I'm interpreting your actions as a frickin' threat. You need to back away from us. Right now. I replied, trying to keep my voice calm. I was furious. I brushed my jacket aside to reveal the pistol I carry on occasion. I actually teach gun safety at my local range and am comfortable carrying. I didn't touch my pistol, just positioned myself to draw to retention if he went for a weapon. But fortunately, drawing wasn't necessary. It was like a spell had broken. It was immediately apparent that he has never considered that his political bullying might actually endanger him. He spluttered at me but quickly backed off. I cautiously backed to my car and fumbled around to open the door, making sure I didn't let him out of my sight. He had turned around and was waddling towards the stores. We got in the car and left. We were both pretty perplexed by the whole situation. It was just so stupid. Why the hell did that guy think that threatening us complete strangers was an okay thing to do? His appearance was neat and clean. As he left, he locked his car, a newish, nice vehicle, remotely. In other words, I believe he was of sound mind. I couldn't help but wonder how many other poor men and women this guy has tried bullying because he didn't like their bumper stickers or whatever. But yeah, that's probably the most overtly disrespectful thing I've ever experienced. Story 5. Locked my new bike up outside a supermarket and ducked inside to get some yogurt because, well, it was Friday night and that's how I de-stress after a long week. Self-checkout line was busier than expected, but I was in and out about 10 to 15 minutes. Didn't want to leave it for too long because someone had pinched a seat from outside my house a couple of weeks earlier. From a short distance, I could see my bike was facing the opposite way I'd left it and felt a little confused. I got closer and saw my U-lock looking like a pretzel. It seemed like someone had tried to wrench off my lock, failed, and then just picked up my bike and tried to use it as leverage to pop the thing off. Failed again, but succeeded in completely messing up the entire aluminum frame. Total write-off, could not be fixed. Man, bike thieves are freaking scum, just scum. Also, I want to know more about this yogurt stress relief technique. Sounds like a pretty economic way of handling stress. But hey, please do go on, and if you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button to my channel. Story 6. I was living on my own and friends with my ex. I had no one to spend my 20th birthday with, so I asked him if he could just come spend some time. He agreed. On the day of, he canceled, saying he had to help his mom run errands, and I was fine with that, no biggie. So I went out and spent the day treating myself to getting my nails done and buying myself a nicer bed set. At around 9 p.m., my ex asked me if I wanted anything from a boba shop to make up for being absent, and I told him I wanted a green tea and some popcorn chicken if they had some. And I was kind of excited I wasn't being completely alone on my birthday. He pulled up to my house and had a guy friend in the passenger seat. My ex's friend revealed that they were hanging out most of the day because it was his birthday. Well, what are the odds? I wished the dude a happy birthday, and my ex is all, okay, you got your tea, bye. I was a little shocked, but I understand nobody is obligated to spend time with me if they don't want to. So I wasn't going to push it. His friend turned to him and asked why I wasn't coming along if it was my birthday too. Then he invited me to sleep over with them and buy some drinks and eat cake and watch movies together. It was all cool, and his friend was really nice and inviting, even though my ex was doing his best to try and boot me. Eventually, when we crash at my ex's place and we're all sharing the same bed, the friend starts to feel up on me and I push his hands off. He tried again and I pushed his hands off again. He got up to go to the bathroom and apologized to me before slipping out of the room. When he leaves, my ex starts trying to get touchy with me and I reject him too. At which point, my ex basically confesses that I should get with his friend because, come on, it's his birthday, and I only allowed you to come because I planned on getting you to get with my friend in the first place. I left his house immediately and blocked him on everything. His friend reached out to me a week later apologizing because he didn't know that I wasn't comfortable with it, and then my ex talked me up when they were at the boba place together, which is why they asked me what I wanted from there in the first place. I felt stupid, humiliated, and gross and used on my own birthday, and it's one I'll never forget. Story 7. I take my lunch break in my car, always have for the last 10 years at my office. I park in a peaceful, quiet area overlooking a duck pond. I open the sunroof and get some fresh air and listen to the NPR lunchtime program with current and local events, and it's a really nice getaway from the monotony of office life. Apparently, a coworker who historically has had beef with me started telling people I was doing grass on my lunch breaks, and that's why I never ate in the break room. She compiled a lengthy list of my behaviors that would mimic substance use. This list included things like being spaced out, being more talkative some days and others, and often being tired. Also signs of being an overworked adult. She also started keeping a folder of extremely petty mistakes I had to prove I was baked at work. These mistakes were such minor oversights they affected no one at all. She took this proof to not only our boss, but also to the physicians who own and run our office. She presented it as concern for my well being, but if she were truly concerned about me, wouldn't she bring it up with me first? Luckily, all my bosses knew my work is and was 100% at all times, and didn't even think twice about it. I didn't even know about any of this going down until she was fired a year later for unrelated reasons. Well, joke's on you, Ashley. I'm the frickin' boss now and I actually do grass daily. But I wait until after hours because I take pride in my work. He should send her a message on Facebook inviting her to a Friday afternoon smoke sesh just to, rub it in, to be honest. Story 8. My mother basically sided with my ex-husband when my husband and I divorced. When my marriage was on the rocks, my mother, who knew next to nothing about what was going on in my marriage because I do not trust her enough to confide in her, literally shook her finger in my face and said, "It's all your fault. You have problems with me, you have problems with your sister, you have problems with husband's name. It's all your fault." The moment she said that to me, a door in my heart closed. She called me a week after the divorce as I sat there, my life in ruins, surrounded by unpacked cardboard boxes in my new rental, to tell me what a great guy my ex was. Like, really, if he was such a great guy, why was I sitting here surrounded by boxes? The first time I visited her after the divorce, she still had photos of my ex, this person who had completely devastated me, proudly displayed in her living room. She then proceeded, after the divorce, to invite my ex-husband to bring my kids to visit her lakeside home to her house every summer, without bothering to ask if I was okay with that. Needless to say, I stopped going to visit her myself. We were estranged for about 7 years. I sent her birthday and Christmas gifts, but we barely spoke. Eventually, because my kids begged me to, I patched things up with her and began visiting her again. I decided to be the bigger person. I'm polite with her when I visit. I make small talk with her and take pains to cook and clean and be a good house guest when I am there. I bend over backwards to avoid arguments, but she has never apologized for her behavior, and I've never really let her back into my heart. I will do my duty and care for her as she ages, but I will never let her get close to me again. Some things can just never be repaired. Story 9. Michael Dell. I worked at Dell in their sales department back in 1999. I was kicking bums. I was hired as a part time worker for an hourly wage with the promise of being hired as a full time employee if I performed well. Full time meant commissions on sales, 401k, health insurance, etc. I worked my bum off, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. I was number one in every sales category for months. Everyone hated me because I won all the prizes. Like, whoever sells the most zip drives this week gets a $250 gift card. Remember zip drives? Yep, lol. Anyway, so after 3 or 4 months, I started to ask about being moved into the regular employee team. I was making about $14 an hour. If I was on commissions, I would have been making a solid 100K a year, maybe more. They kept telling me, real soon, keep it up, I'm pushing for you. Anyway, so another few weeks go by and a very high up comes in and asks to talk with me and my direct manager. I thought, this is it, finally. So they wanted to understand how my numbers were constantly so good. We had a conversation about my system, which basically relied on the volume of incoming calls. You see, Dell trained their employees to spend time on each call, find out the customer's needs, and try to upsell them on memory or a bigger hard drive or adding a DVD that was big back then, etc. I found that most people had no freaking idea what they wanted or needed. The ones that did, I was happy to take the time working out their configuration, but for most, I took their order, maybe made a quick suggestion like you should really go for a bigger hard drive, it's only $45 more, etc. So the bottom line was, at the time, the girl in the cubicle next to me sold one computer for $1,200. Meanwhile, I took 5 calls and rolled out 5 computers, maybe $800 to $1,000 each. Volume. They asked me to train a new team, so I did. Their first week on the floor, my 8 guys were the top 8 salespeople in the building. I showed up Monday. Dell fired everyone who was full-time. They basically had me train all our replacements. The people I hired were all brought in as temps for $9 an hour. They never had any intention of hiring me. They just used me to teach the temps. That day, I was like, so am I full-time now? They said no, so I quit. Screw that greedy bastard. Story 10. A twofer, screw you fur, I guess. Freshman year of college, 2 friends from my floor in the dorms. They became each other's besties and roomies over time. I guess I didn't rate as highly. Guy number 1 got mono. While eating food with him, I took a phone call and stepped out of the room. He unscrewed the cap of my bottle of soda and hoiked in my drink. I return, finish my drink, get mono. He thinks this is hilarious and admits to me that he gave it to me. Karma. I recovered miraculously quickly. Only missed 2 days of classes while he missed half a semester. My mom sent me frequent care packages filled with amazing home-baked goodness like brownies and cookies, banana bread, etc. It was always way more than I could eat by myself, so I happily shared with all my floormates, including both of these turds. Guy number 2 figures out that he can unlock any dorm room door in our building with a credit card. He starts going in my room whenever he felt like and do things like steal baked goods from mom that I would have gladly given to him if he just asked. My hookah disappeared, nobody knew how. Did something in my toothpaste container? Told me weeks later. Initially, I didn't believe him on the toothpaste because why would you do that? Admit to it, or how would you even put anything back into a toothpaste tube? He was insistent, explaining in detail how he did it, and seems like he really put some time into this little project of his. Karma, this guy fashioned himself a tough guy from the suburbs. Once he finally convinced me about the toothpaste, he tried to run away laughing. But I chased him down, roughed him up. He was powerless to do anything about it. So much for the tough guy bit, eh? Also, his food theft escalated to the point that he decided to steal and eat a whole tray of my mom's brownies in one sitting. Too bad for him, my mom is a crunchy person and, unbeknownst to me, had put flaxseed in the brownies to help her whittle boy with digestion. So the amount of devil brownies he ate messed him up. I can still remember the sound of him crying from the bathroom stall. Needless to say, I stopped hanging around these jerks and the other followers in that group after freshman year, which was tough at the time. But I made new friends who didn't do messed up stuff to me with no remorse. My only regret is I didn't pull the plug on the cool kids sooner and spend more time hanging out with some of the more interesting, nerdy types. Alright, so people actually supported and followed these idiots. Those guys got off lightly, but hopefully for the rest of us in humanity, they kind of grew out of it. And if you like these stories, here's more for you. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. I'll catch you in that video, and thanks for hanging with me on this one.